when you think about it just at kind of a gut level, you can imagine that operating in silos will hold us back from great results. It's very difficult to get top ranking, award winning, high reliable results when there's these different silos and this inability to collaborate and work well together.
Welcome to Culture Change RX, the podcast for healthcare professionals that are committed to creating a thriving workplace culture, improving the experiences of employees and patients, and ultimately unlocking their organization's next level of potential. I'm Sue Tetzloff, your host and co-founder of Capstone Leadership Solutions. Join me and my insightful guests each week as we share actionable insights for navigating the crucial people side of the business of healthcare. Subscribe now for a weekly dose of Culture Change RX. Now let's dive into this week's conversation where culture change takes center stage.
So this is one of those shorter solo episodes, so no guest in the studio today. And our focus today is on the topic of silos. So what are silos? So silos are any part of an organization that has turned inward. So it functions as a unique, separate identity, and it's loyal to its own. So its own department, its own division, its own section, versus being loyal to the organization as a whole, or feeling part and really acting as part of the organization as a whole. We often think of silos as being different departments. So departments that don't collaborate and work well together. And that's a common type of silo. But there's other types of silos that can also exist within organizations. So departmental is one. Or divisions, so groups of departments that are in divisions like the finance division and the clinical division, and that's probably the two biggest silos in healthcare is the division between the business side and the clinical side of healthcare. And they have different languages, they have different jargon, they think different things are important, those kind of things. But we can also have hierarchical silos, which is in the org chart. So between senior leaders and frontline leaders. So a division between there, a division between leadership and staff. So leaders versus employees. So in the hierarchy, we can have silos. We can also have generational silos in our organizations. We can have geographical. So if it's an organization that has different buildings or campuses, it's pretty common that if you have a main campus or, larger, big central campus, and then there's some off-site clinics or different service lines that are not in that main campus, they can often feel apart from the others and not included. So a geographical silo. And then there's also something called categorical silos, and that's between different functions or roles in the organization. So I mentioned hierarchical, like leaders to employees, but that could also be even within a department. So it could be something like night shift to day shift in a 24-hour med-surg unit. It could be between nurses and nurse aides in a nursing home. It could be between doctors and nurses. So those are the kind of things we're talking about when we talk about categorical. So, just by that description of the different types of silos that can exist, you can imagine that silo busting can be a full-time job, right? Is to just identify and work on developing collaboration, which we consider to be the opposite of silo behavior, is collaborative behavior. And collaborative behavior is like teamwork on steroids, right? So what are the downsides of silos in our organizations and in our cultures? So when you think about it just at kind of a gut level, you can imagine that operating in silos will hold us back from great results. It's very difficult to get top ranking, award winning, high reliable results when there's these different silos and this inability to collaborate and work well together. And silos are known to be the root cause of inefficiency and can be the biggest obstacle to great workflow. So it's very hard to be productive and efficient and have great workflow when it involves across silos, whether again, across departments or divisions or even across generations, geographies, or categories of employees. So it can also create a perception to our customers. So in healthcare, our patients and families, it can give them a perception that we're disorganized. Have you heard the phrase, the right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing? And ultimately, it's the patient who experiences poor care or service that is the loser in a turf war battle in between silos. So patients get caught in the cracks or get caught in the middle of silo behaviors in organizations. There was actually some research. It's kind of old now. I could go out there and look and see what the latest research is, but I remember seeing some research back in 2012 related to customer service professionals and the customer experience, where it showed that silo mentality or silo behavior is the biggest organizational hurdle to improving the customer experience. Again, it's hard to be efficient. It's hard to have great results. It's hard to have great workflow, and patients get caught in the middle of things such as silo behavior and departments and different hierarchies not working well together. So what can we do about it, right? So if there's a big problem with it, usually in most organizations, and if there is big impact from it, what can we do about it? So it's an interesting endeavor or search that we've had in our company at Capstone Leadership Solutions in the beginning of our work and really working with organizations to create top ranking award winning results so they can improve and grow continuously with more speed and ease. This idea of silos came up a few years into our work. And when Jane and I, as the co-founders of Capstone, really started to reflect on our own organization, our own community hospital's journey to make a big transformational turnaround of our organization in the patient experience, the employee experience, its results, its finances, its growth, etc. When we masterminded and executed that plan, we realized in hindsight, just reflecting how the work we had done, the actions we had taken, not really with our eye on the ball of decreasing silos and increasing collaborative behavior, but in reflection, we realized so many examples where we could contrast the before and after of silos versus now collaboration. And so we started to really think about what were the things that we did? What were the actual actions? What part of our framework? What solutions in our framework? What part of our approach leads to elevating our cultures in this way? And then, of course, our results. So I'm not going to mention all of them here today in this short episode, but I pulled 4 categories of actions that or considerations organizations can have related to decreasing silo behavior and elevating collaborative teamwork behavior. And number one category of things I would say is things that I would call uniters. So what are those things that unite us as one? So if silo behavior is turning inward to ourselves and only being focused on our own silo, what is it that can make us really focus outward and unite us towards a bigger common picture? And that would be things like the organization's mission, vision, values, annual strategic goals. And those would be things that we could, and we know in most organizations, we could keep top of mind and keep the focus on those. A lot of times, these are things that maybe aren't focused on a lot in organizations, and we think maybe they don't have a lot of value and reason to focus on them. But a mission, vision, and values in the organization's strategic plan and its standards of behavior and its goals are things that put us all on the same page, right? We're all working towards the same thing, and we can see how our job, how our department, how our work, how our behavior contributes to the common thing, and that we're all guided by that one common thing. And it is what I would call a uniter. So really keeping those top of mind and really helping individuals and groups of individuals be able to understand how they connect to the mission, the vision, the strategic plan, the values, the goals, etc. Another uniter is teams. So in the organizations that we work with, we help them create or elevate individual teams in a structure that we call employee driven teams. So it's a place to engage employees and unite employees in big picture things like the organization's top strategies. So when we form these teams and we empower them with a piece of the strategic plan, like elevating the patient experience, like elevating the culture and the employee experience, like engaging with the community as some examples. When we do that, we set up these teams that are very diverse and across divisions and across departments, clinical and non-clinical, even on the patient experience team, putting non-clinical people on there as well, because they can make valuable contributions to that part of the organization's strategy and improvement efforts. So teams are uniters as well, especially when they're aligned to the organization's top goals and strategies, and they're helping to bring the mission, vision, and values and standards alive that are common to everyone. So that category is uniters. Another thing we can do that is a category of silo busters is take action to elevate empathy and understanding and build relations between the different silos. So we actually, in our partner organizations that we work with, which are typically small hospitals, but any hospital or healthcare organization or any other business could do this. But really, it's about creating understanding about the different parts of the organization. So we want to be united in common things, but then we also want to have a real understanding and empathy and appreciation for and relationships across silos. An activity that we have one of the teams do, it's either the employee experience team or the employee training and communication team, typically in our partner organizations. One of them is kind of tasked with the responsibility to lead efforts such as Walk in My Shoes or Day in the Life, where they're actually highlighting different roles and different departments and different services and helping people understand what they do, what they're all about, what contributions they make to the organization and the business of the organization or the clinical aspects of the organization. So really bringing out empathy and understanding across silos, Walk in My Shoes, Day in the Life. So they do this in lots of creative ways. The teams get really creative about how they do that. In my own healthcare organization, we used to do this just on a semi-annual basis as part of our employee training events, but it was so wildly popular that our organization started doing it more often. And some of our partners, they have a monthly regular cadence of highlighting a different role or department or service in the organization and really create deep understanding and appreciation for that. And actually, I'll put appreciation as a whole nother category. So a lot of times when we talk about appreciating the work of others in our organization and showing recognition, celebration, and appreciation of others is oftentimes that's relegated to, like, if it's Nurses Week, where nurses celebrate nurses, right? So they're celebrating themselves, they're doing activities to celebrate themselves. If it's, Health Information Week, if it's Lab Week, if it's Hospice Week, those kind of things, we engage in activities to celebrate ourselves and our own silo. But what about celebrating each other or having others celebrate you? So, it's like planning your own party, right? Like if it's your birthday, you don't always plan your own birthday party. Others celebrate you. And so really creating a mechanism in your organization or a new way of showing appreciation to celebrate others and have others celebrate you. So when it's Nurses Week, how can others outside of nurses the nursing department celebrate nursing versus they just celebrating themselves, and even carrying that out in the community. And so that's a fun way to do it too, is an engage in the community and celebrate nursing, for example. So really spreading our, view of who celebrates who and how that is actually planned and pulled off. And always party with a purpose, but also who's celebrating who, and expanding the cross department, cross silo celebration efforts and appreciation efforts. Even, like leaders, we often send thank you notes to our own employees in our own departments, but what about sending those thank you notes to employees and leaders in other departments and harvesting those recognition opportunities as well? And then the fourth category, so I mentioned uniters as the first, empathy and understanding activities as another, appreciation activities as a third. But the fourth and last category I just want to focus on today is learning together. So when we come together and learn, and these can be things that we need to learn, again, to achieve our joint goals, our, the goals and the values and the behaviors and the things that we're united in. So those teams, if they're working on things to improve the patient experience, what common learning needs do we have to pull that off? If we're improving quality and safety, what common learning needs do we have? If we have a goal to grow the organization or improve its finances, what common goals do we have to learn, either as leaders coming together to all learn together and employees? So in our partner organizations, they set up a regular system or a cadence of learning together. So leaders come together and learn together. Employees come together and learn together. And we never run out of learning needs, common learning needs, and we never run out of things to join together and all learn together in. So we call it silo is a 4-letter word, and collaboration is teamwork on steroids. So what are your uniters? What are your empathy and understanding actions? What are your learning actions that you can all learn together and come together, learn? And what are those ways that we can appreciate and celebrate beyond our individual silos? So expanding beyond that. So food for thought as you go about silo busting in your own organization and developing a more collaborative work culture.
Thanks for tuning in to Culture Change RX. If you found value in today's episode and you are a believer in fostering change in healthcare, join us in making a difference. Follow, rate, and review our podcast on your favorite platform. Share it with colleagues and your network. Together, we can make a lasting impact. Until next week, keep inspiring positive change.